Hi, my name is Amy Cook. I'm a member of Grass Valley Friends Meeting and have been asked to share some information that I was fortunate to receive on Kingian nonviolence. I took a year-long Kingian nonviolence course with international participants there were participants from Asia, Africa, India, Europe, the United States, altogether about 30 of us. One of the teachers was Bernard Lafayette, who was part of the Civil Rights Movement. He was one of the original members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, and just a lifelong participant in nonviolent movements. And it was really an honor to be able to meet him in that online format, and to learn from other extraordinary people in that course. And I'm very happy to be able to pass some of that on. Um, One of the things that I did not expect to happen in that course was how deeply it would touch me, really at my very core. I've been a Quaker since about 1995, and have also followed a Buddhist path. And then in about 2001, 2002, started a nonviolent communication journey, which continues to this day. And in all of those paths, I've sought to understand myself, I've sought to understand others. And um, this course in Kingian nonviolence really touched me at the very heart of all those journeys. The very first motion in the practice of nonviolence, and it is a practice that really permeates your whole life, not something that we can pick up right before a march or right before an action and then put down again. That is what really stood out for me in this course, that nonviolence is a life practice that really does permeate every way that we have of looking at the world and interacting with it. The first motion in nonviolence is love. That is the inspiration for all nonviolent movements, for our practice in our lives, and what can really inform and sustain us through the difficult moments when nonviolence seems to not be working, when there is a great deal of conflict, when we're in pain, when we're facing deep grief, when we're afraid. That core of understanding deep love is what can help get us through, as well as help us practice. So in the civil rights movement, that language was really around Christianity. And Christianity formed a very common language and common practice, common experience for many of the people who were at the heart of the civil rights movement. It gave a powerful core so that also the people who were watching the protests and the actions from their streets or on their television sets were also touched deeply, because they were able to see the perennial truths and the deep spiritual truths that were being acted out in front of them. It gave the movement strength, and it gave the movement unity. And one of the things that I was able to see in the Kingian nonviolence course is that at first I mourned that we don't have a common language any longer, and that our movements seem not to have that spiritual core. And then it has become more and more clear to me, and also taking this course with such extraordinary and diverse people, that we do have that in an even greater way than what was present in the civil rights movement, because we live in a time when the divisions between faiths are really falling away, and we're seeing the perennial wisdom that's at the heart of all faiths, that we are divine, and that we live in in a context that can only be divine. And science is now informing this as well. We are part of one unified whole. You tug on one part and it ripples through everything else. We know that we cannot exist alone, and um, if we are to survive, we need to be able to understand the diversity and complexity in our world and transcend our differences into an understanding of the deep unity that is present, and that the spiritual practices that people have now are more and more acknowledging something not of one specific faith, but really of a deep sense of love for all. So I think we're actually in an extraordinary time in history where we can recognize that and practice it and bring all of our faiths to bear on creating the world that we want to see, that we know um, that is the deepest truth, that we can manifest that deepest truth of unity, what has been called the beloved community, that is our deepest truth. So the practice of nonviolence informs that reality, that we um, can relate to one another, not in terms of rivalry, not in terms of what divides us, but really we approach every issue, every situation with seeking to manifest what unites us. Um, so I think there's three main principles that we want to touch in that, and that for me really helped me approach the Kingian nonviolence work. That there is a divine reality at the center of everything. Um, that every human soul has the ability to recognize that divine reality and to transcend differences, and that the final goal of existence is really union with that. So as we step into this practice of nonviolence, um, anything that we can draw on to help us recognize that divine work is going to be really instrumental as we delve more deeply into practicing nonviolence, especially in times of great conflict. I think we all recognize right now that we are living in an extraordinary time and facing divisions like we've never seen them. Um, we see hatred on faces that um, it's frightening. And I think we can all touch that fear that the hatred could get the better of us. It could get the better of our political process. It could get the better of our families. It could get the better of our towns. It could get the better. And as Michelle Obama says so beautifully, we reach for the higher ground. We reach for that place that that speaks to um, the hatred falling away, the hatred um, being replaced by the knowledge that we can work towards something greater. Bayard Rustin was a Quaker who really was at the heart of designing many of the nonviolent campaigns that King and many others worked on. Bayard was an extraordinary man. He was a black man and a gay man in a time in our culture where being black and gay was extraordinarily challenging. Um, and he was deeply, deeply motivated by the theories and the principles of nonviolent direct action and nonviolence as a way of life. So I want to close with a quote by Bayard. If we desire a society of peace, then we cannot achieve such a society through violence. If we desire a society without discrimination, then we must not discriminate against anyone in the process of building this society. If we desire a society that is democratic, then democracy must become a means as well as an end. Thank you.